So everyone, here are the listener questions where you guys put in questions on the Facebook and the Twitter pages and we will answer them. Trilbee, do you want to start? I think there was one there specifically for you.
Yes, there was on the Facebook page. Ben Billington, 10 out of 10 for your name. Trilbee, as an aspiring filmmaker about to graduate, any advice on how to make the next steps into the industry? So I was in a very similar position a few years ago from you, Ben Billington, and this isn't stalkerish, I promise. I just had a quick look at your profile to find out you are from the UK, so I do have relevant advice. There are certain Facebook pages where you can go on, like, say, production runners wanted or people wanting to get into TV, and there are certain ones that are run by very nice people for free where you can go on these pages to look for entry-level work, because one mistake a lot of graduates do is that they make one or two short films for university student projects and then they make a business card that says Ben Billington, director, editor, camera operator. It's like, no, you don't just get that the moment you leave university. You have to work your way up. You have to become a runner, work your way up for maybe a year or two to a third assistant director, then second assistant director first, and then you work your way up. It's a very long and drawn out process, and there is no set formula to it. But what you need to do, as soon as, like, ideally now, you say you're about to graduate, you should go on these Facebook pages to look for entry level positions, put together a CV, and of what you've done, and just try and just keep applying for anything and everything you can that you feel like you are able to do. There are some paid job boards, like My First Job in Film or Production Base or Film and TV Pro, where you get emails with job notifications. These, like, 10% of the time they pull through. They may not be worth the financial investment. But what you really need to do is you need to just use your time at university to get to know your tutors and try and establish a relationship with them so that they may be able to recommend a few things after you graduate, so you can find work as soon as you can. What you may need to do is you may need to get a part-time or full-time job doing, like, retail or something, like more of a mundane job, for lack of a better word, so that you can do a runner job every so often. The film and TV industry is becoming more and more insular, where people are being driven away because they are working so many hours. Like, there was a news story this week where Britain's Got Talent are under scrutiny because they're making their runners work like 7 days, like 18-hour days, 7 days a week with no holiday pay, not paying their travel. They're basically slave labor, and it's Britain's Got Talent. It does not surprise me in the least, and I've heard so many horror stories in the industry of people like the Jeremy Kyle Show, which is the UK equivalent of, like, Jerry Springer. I've heard horror stories of people working 28-hour days with no breaks, and having to drive home and, like, sleep for 4 hours and then come back and do the same thing again. It is an exploitative industry in daytime TV, and it's depressing. And also, if you want to get into directing, if you do want to do that, you are going to have to make the content. The content's not going to come to you. Save some money, get some friends, make short films, submit it into festivals, enter script competitions. It's going to be a grind, but if you want to work in the industry, you've got to do it. And the first short film you do, it's going to be pants. It is. And I'm not saying that to try and deter you. It's going to be pants. But submit it anyway. You're probably not going to get in, but do it again the year after. Do it the next festival. Just keep working at it. Establish a team of friends, regular people you can come to. In Manchester, where I am, I have a go-to guy for cinematography. He has a great camera equipment and great editing software. If we want to do a film, we go to him. I've submitted a film into a festival. I'll find out in a few weeks if it gets in. I'll invite you to the screening, Ben, and see how it's done. But enter these film races where it's like 48 hours to make a film. Get a team together. You're a graduate, you're a student. You should have friends who have diverse skill sets. You put a team together, go out there and do it, because it's not going to come to you. That's really the best advice I can offer. Bandit, you got anything to add?
Well, that's really good advice.
It is going to be a grind. It's going to be hard, but don't quit because it's hard. Because you've got to push through it, because I graduated with like 30, 40 other people. Only about 5 or 6 of us are currently working. Many people gave up because it didn't work for them after a year, and it's depressing, and I know that they were talented and had the capability to do it. It's going to be tough, it's going to be a grind, but it's going to be rewarding, and you'll have some of the best experiences of your life working as a runner on shows, because you get to interact with everybody. Even if it is just making tea or if it is just holding the boom, you'll learn what people do in these smaller, lower positions. And then when you do work your way up to director or producer or third AD or whatever, you'll know what those people do. Starting from the bottom means you work your way up and you know what these people can do. So when you are director, when you ask the runner to do so-and-so, or you ask the second AD to do so-and-so, then you'll know that they can do it, and you'll know that that's their job because you've done it. It's the best way to get in, and you're going to have to work your way up, and it's going to be a grind, but I wish you the best of luck, Ben.
Yeah, really good advice, man. Like, yeah, I mean, you're certainly the one qualified for that, because, like, you actually work in the official channels, like, and all that sort of, like, the official sort of industry. I can kind of relate to some of it, because, like, I think I mentioned this before on the show, but, like, I sort of grew up wanting to be a writer and all that. So I have actually written a few books that, which were terrible. And I agree with you when you say that the first, like, short film you make is going to be terrible, because the first thing I wrote was terrible, even though we all think it's amazing when we make it. And then we look back at it and go, oh, man, what was I thinking? That's awful.
Yeah, I think I said it in the podcast last week. Anything you write before the age of 16, throw it out.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be very good. And
but you still need to go through that process of writing it, because, like, people who are afraid of failure don't start. But it's a learning curve. Everything's a learning curve. You fail your way to success. They say with a lot of success, like with businesses, they say you have to fail at 11 before the 12th one is the one that usually works on average. So you have to be willing to fail 11 times before you get to that 12th one. But the only other thing I'd like to add is, like, we're also in a time and an age where there's a lot of value to being a self-starter in many different fields, I think. Like, a lot of musicians are self-starters. Like, if no one's interested in their music, if they can't get, like, a record deal or anything like that, they just record it themselves and just put it out there. And if it gains traction, that's how they actually break into the business. A lot of directors do that. You know, we're seeing a lot of, like, independent filmmakers, you know, getting bigger deals off the basis of that. And, so I think, like, that's also an option to consider, just being a self-starter. You can always, if no one wants to buy your stories, you can always just write them and make stupid animated versions of them on the internet.
Hey, you rewrote Star Wars. That is no small feat.
Which hasn't led to anything yet. Well, I mean,
not yet.
It's led to me
episode
being
9
able to
probably
quit my
wants
day
writers.
job, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah.
Just a bit of advice, just general stuff for writers as well, which may apply to just general filmmakers, is that if you want to get into writing, you'll need an agent. But in order to get an agent, you need a broadcast credit. But you want an agent so you can get a broadcast credit. It's a very insular industry, and it's very frustrating. But what you got to do is, if you are in a rural area, go to your local TV station and say, I want to do stuff for you. Local TV is, believe it or not, becoming bigger in the UK. You are finding a market where they do want this scripted content. They don't just want to do local documentaries or local news and local weather. They do want to try and have a platform to have content. Because of YouTube, most local TV stations put their content on YouTube where it can find a bigger audience. Write stuff for your local TV, or at least get a relationship with them so you can have the equipment. And also, you could technically write, say, an article for the Huffington Post, because they accept freelance stuff. Write an article for them, and then you can go to an agency and say, I've done some writing for the Huffington Post, and you could get an agent. It will be a really bad agent, but you'll be on the ladder. You'll be there, and then you can work your way up. Recently, there's the Damien Chazelle film Whiplash, which was like a big Oscar contender a few years ago. It won J.K. Simmons the Oscar. And basically, the person who wrote that, he made a scene from the film. He filmed and directed a scene from Whiplash. He got J.K. Simmons on board, and they made the scene, entered it into Sundance, and it won the Best Short Film Award, and it got funding to make a feature-length version of that film. J.K. Simmons came back, they got Miles Teller in the cast, they made a 90-minute film based off that one scene, and it's a big Oscar film, and Damien Chazelle is now established and he's on the map. So if you do have a feature film project, make a scene from it, or make a very compressed version of it. Film it on a budget, make sure it's polished. Like, you can have a low-budget film and still have a lot of polish. It will just take a lot of time. There's the triangle of efficiency. It's like, quality, cheap, and fast. You can't have all three. You need two. You need at least two. I think that's how it goes. it makes a lot more sense if you've got the diagram in front of you. But yeah, make a scene and get it into festivals, because like I said, it's not going to come to you. You've got to make the content, and don't just put it on YouTube straight away. It'll be great for your earlier stuff so you can get that feedback, but you've got to enter it into festivals, because many festivals won't accept films if you can find it on Vimeo or on YouTube, because it makes it very difficult to prove your authorship.
Is that why you haven't uploaded your short film yet?
Basically, yeah. Like there's a few.
Because I've been hanging out, I've been looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you. Well, I'm even going to send it to you. But for student films,
cool.
it's tough to submit those into festivals because they are owned by the university, technically, because you used their resources and stuff, which means you don't often see student films in festivals. So if you did make a student film and you think there's real potential there, remake it without the university, and then you can enter it into stuff. It's very tough, and I might make a video or an editorial to try and elaborate. I'm hardly the most qualified person. I am working on that bottom rung.
You're the most qualified
industry.
person here.
Yeah, that's by default. I am the Zack Snyder. I'm the only person willing.
But it's interesting because I think in many ways it's kind of semantics, because like everyone has like a different way of saying it, but the advice is pretty much the same overall. Like Kevin Smith has said things that have like echoed stuff you're saying, where like he said, just get out there and just do stuff, and cast your seed around. You don't know where it's going to sprout, sort of thing. Because like with that's not a dirty reference, by the way. But Kevin Smith, he said, like when he was talking to his sister when he was a kid, and he's like, I want to be a director, but I don't know how. And she's like, well, just do it. Just pick up a camera and just do it. And he did.
Exactly.
He just learnt along the way. Granted, a lot of people say he's not the greatest director, but like he made it. And like as well, William Shatner, one of his like, again, he's acting, but it's all still sort of the industry, and a lot of the advice overlaps. Like in one of his books where he's got all these rules, which is a really funny read, one of his rules is say yes to everything. Where he's like, any opportunity that comes along, he says yes to anything, because he doesn't know where it's going to lead. Like the reason he said yes to this stupid TV show that nobody had heard about called Star Trek was because, even though most people wouldn't be bothered with it, he's like, say yes to everything, take every opportunity. And William Shatner, he did a series of commercials in America for some brand or whatever. And it was from those commercials that he ended up getting the job to play Denny Crane.
Yeah.
Because the guy who was writing that show was like, oh, who am I going to cast to play Denny Crane? And then one of those commercials come on. He's like, oh, William Shatner. So, like, yeah, just get out there and do stuff yourself and take every opportunity you get. Yeah.
There is, like, a fallacy in, like, the media world where they say, oh, just pick up an iPhone and make a movie. But if like, that's a great way to sort of like get started. But if you want to enter it into festivals, no, because they will only accept broadcast quality looking stuff. Like there was a film called Tangerine last year, which is an independent film, very, very tiny budget, and it was filmed on 3 iPhone 5 smartphones. They used the cameras from those. And people are saying, see, you can make a movie on an iPhone and be respected. But what the filmmakers did was that they had these special massive lenses that they put on the iPhones, and they used like thousands of dollars worth of editing software to change the image and make it look more polished. So that's really cheating the system. It's like when there was that, I'm just going to look it up now, there was that book called Eragon, from 2002, and it was written by like a 15-year-old, Christopher Paolini, and then English teachers would be like, see, a 15-year-old can get a book published, you can do it too. But they don't mention that Christopher Paolini, his parents owned a book publishing company. That was essentially how that book got made. So, although one final thing, and then I promise I'll move on, do not accept like slave labor. Like people will be like, oh, we'll pay you an exposure. Exposure's not going to pay your rent. Exposure is not going to feed you. Like obviously, maybe if it's like a day or two, and you've got the time to do it, if you can get a few days off a retail job or whatever part-time work you're doing, maybe do it for the experience and to try out different projects. But if it's like, 2 weeks, we won't pay your travel, but you'll get a copy of the DVD for your show reel, and you'll get... don't accept those deals, because you are worth more than that. You should be worth more than that. And it's just basically slave labor, and this industry does not need any more of that.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you with that, because I actually had... A while back, I actually had someone approaching my channel because I did a video about We Want Worf, which might be a new Star Trek TV show. And one of the guys who actually runs the We Want Worf sort of thing contacted me, and he was like, hey, do you reckon you'd be willing to help promote the show? And I was like, yeah, I want to see more Star Trek. He's like, well, maybe if you could help sell these T-shirts, and in return you'll get more exposure. And I'm like, what do you mean exposure? I'm like, first of all, I don't want to plug a product to my subscribers because people don't like that kind of thing, and it's probably not something I would buy anyway. But also I'm like, well, what do you mean exposure? He's like, well, I'm out here in Hollywood, I'm interviewing all these different people, I can give you access. I'm like, dude, I'm in Australia. How's that help me? I'm like, what am I going to interview guys over Skype or something? It's like, so yeah, that I've discovered from that as well that exposure is often a fancy way of saying we're not going to pay you.
Yeah. And the first job application you send, probably you're going to get a Dear John, which I'm not sure where the term comes from, but it basically means a denial. Then they're going to say, no, we've picked somebody else. Don't get disheartened by that, because you're going to send 20 applications and only one of them will get a reply, and that reply might not even say that you got it. Because keep going at it, and the more applications you send, the more likely you'll get the job. Because the no you receive is just one more application away from being a yes. So just keep pushing at it. And if you really want to work in the industry, then just keep pushing.
Absolutely. Good chat. Okay. I'm glad we talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that question a lot from people. And like I said, I'm not the most qualified person. I know basically how to do it. It's just doing it. So it is luck of the draw. But basically, if a movie like Batman v Superman can get a screenplay like that, you can be a writer too.
That's right.
It gives me hope.
That's kind of like Stephen King said that about writing. He's like, well, to be a writer, you have to read a lot, you have to write a lot. And he goes, the good thing about the reading a lot is often you could read a book and you're like, man, this really sucks. I can do better than this, and this got published.
I know.
Same
I keep
thing
on
here with movies.
I know I keep on saying we should move on, but there's one other thing. If you want to get into writing screenplays, read screenplays. You wouldn't write a book without having read a book. Get one of your favorite movies, like Inglourious Bastards. You can buy the screenplay for that online for like £8 or £9 on Amazon. You can go to a bookshop and buy scripts, or if you're a student, you can go to a library and sometimes read scripts to Back to the Future and Tim Burton's Batman, like at my university. Read the script, read it as you watch the movie, and then you'll just understand the language of screenplays and formatting, because formatting is a big part in writing a script. Because if you don't format your script properly, then if you give it to an agent or to a company, they'll just throw it straight in the bin if it's not been formatted properly. That does happen. There's a program called Celtx. It's CELTX, and it is free screenwriting software. There's a paid version, but you don't need it. Just download Celtx, and it does a lot of the formatting for you. Just learn formatting. If you're a Doctor Who fan, there's Doctor Who The Shooting Scripts, which is a book which has all of the scripts from Series 1, and it's got the screen directions, it's got the stuff. So that's just a great way to learn the terminology.
You brought up screenwriting. I follow Max Landis quite a lot, and he gives a lot of insights into being a screenwriter in Hollywood. And I got to say, from how he describes it, it really doesn't sound very good.
No,
it sounds like a nightmare. And I was like, man, it's like, I don't know, like if anyone, like in one of my wildest fantasies, because I am going to start doing original stories, like once I'm done with Star Wars and animating and putting them on my YouTube channel. In one of my wildest fantasies, if like Hollywood's like, hey, we want to turn that into a movie. Would you like to write the screenplay? Of course I would say yes, because you say yes to everything, according to William Shatner. But writing scripts in Hollywood, based on what Max Landis said, that's not like a goal that I'm actively going to seek, because it sounds terrible. It sounds really rough. And it basically sounds like, I think, I can't remember if it was him or someone else, but he said I think it was someone else. They said one screenwriting tool is like, if you write a screenplay and it's perfect. You're like, everything's right, everything's perfect. Even if it is perfect, it's going to be changed, because that script's going to be passed on to everyone else. Everyone else who's investing money wants to feel like their money is invested in a safe project, so they're going to want to change stuff to make it better, even if making it better, I'm doing air quotes, is actually ruining it. So he gets his script, he gets it ready, but he doesn't send it in. He keeps that and puts it to the side. Instead, he goes back to the script and he takes out something that definitely needs to be in there, and he puts in something that definitely should not be in there. And he puts them in as bait so that when he hands the script along to the others, they'll be like, yeah, it's good, but, we just need something else in here, and we just need this bit taken out. And he'll be like, good idea. I never would have noticed that if it wasn't for your help. I'll get to work on it right now. Goes back, gets his original script, brings it back to them, and they go, oh, perfect, you fixed it. And he's like, well, I couldn't have done it without your help. And that's like how he tries to preserve his script so it doesn't get ruined by that process. Doesn't always work, he says.
So that's really clever. Because one great way to direct actors, because if you're starting out in the industry, you're going to be working with people on little pay, or your friends who are working for free as a favour, so you don't show people that embarrassing Facebook photo. It's going to be stuff like that. And what's going to happen is that they'll maybe give a bad performance during one take, but you don't want to say, change it, do this and that, because you don't want to hurt their feelings, or maybe they're bad at taking direction. So what you do, they do a bad take, you approach them, and then you say, that was really good, exactly the same again. And then what they'll do, in their mind, they'll be like, okay, I've got to recreate that, and inadvertently, they'll do it differently and attempt to recreate it. So that's a really good way of making an actor feel like they're in control and doing the right thing, but that you're actually getting something different out of them. Reverse psychology.
Well, that's interesting. Again, I know we keep saying we'll move on, but I've heard another technique that directors use, and you might have seen this, is
It's called the whip.
Oh, okay. Is that what it's called?
But that's better.
You mean a literal whip? Yeah. Okay.
So
it seems interesting that directors need to have all these psychological tools to get under people's skin. I heard this story about when Gene Hackman was cast as Lex Luthor in the Superman movie. I can't remember the director's name of that movie. What was his name?
Richard Donner.
Richard Donner. Yeah. Well, at the time, Gene Hackman had a big mustache that he was very proud of. And Richard Donner, of course, Lex Luthor doesn't have a mustache. So, they were having a hard time getting Gene Hackman to agree to shave his mustache. So Richard Donner's like, well, look, I'll tell you what. I'll shave my mustache if you shave yours. Yeah. So Gene Hackman is like, you do that? And he goes like, yeah, okay. So he's like, all right, I'll do it. So Gene Hackman goes in, shaves his mustache. He comes out, he's like, there we go. He goes, now it's your turn. So Richard Donner's like, okay. Reaches, grabs his moustache, peels off this fake moustache.
Oh my goodness.
And Gene Hackman is just like, dude, I'll do whatever you say. Because he's just respects smart like that.
Yeah. Oh, because actors are not props. They are people, and they need coercing. It makes them sound like puppets, but you're the director, you're the boss. They should be your puppets in a sense. They are there to serve your story, and don't take any nonsense from them. They ain't got no trailer. You can take the trailer off them.
I've also heard, this is another story about a different director, a guy who directed a lot of John Wayne movies, and who actually got into a lot of fist fights with John Wayne on set.
What? Okay.
Yeah, back in the day. But he actually found, because when he started directing, he was just naturally a really nice guy, but he found that because he's a nice guy, it's really hard to get people to do what you want. So he found it's better to build up a reputation as a real tough kind of jerk that is sometimes nice. Because, see, if you have a reputation as a bad guy, but then so people will take you seriously, but then when you're nice to people, they won't take advantage of your kindness and try to take liberties and stuff. But if you have a reputation of a nice guy and then you try to be tough on them, they won't take you seriously, so you can't get them to do what you want, which I guess is why a lot of directors like Ridley Scott are just total jerks. Because people do what you want if you have a reputation of being a bad guy. Then you can occasionally be a nice guy and they'll still take you seriously.
And when you are a nice guy, they'll appreciate it all the more.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, I think that's everything I've got to say. The good thing about working in media is that you will be working from short job to short job on these short-term contracts, which means that you can use time in between jobs to work on your own personal projects and your own screenplays and stuff. So it's a good cycle of work and reward. So okay, that's really all.
That's right.
Trilbee.